Hello, my beautiful creative souls, and welcome back to the channel for another video. Today, I want to talk to you about these two oracles specifically and do kind of an unfair comparison between the two. Now, I was gifted this deck by one of you this past summer in 2023. And the person who sent it to me gifted it to me, as a as a very generous gift because she knows that I love all of Rebecca Campbell's other decks, and she was also curious as to what I thought about it. And when I first opened this deck, I was really on the fence, and a lot of you knew that I already had this deck, and were curious to see what I thought of this deck in terms of the element of water and how the water is presented, and whether or not I felt that this might be a better option. So we're really going to dive into both decks today. I'm going to talk about the kind of differences that I feel with the decks and why I prefer one over the other. So again, thank you to the lovely viewer who sent me this deck. And yeah, we're gonna get ready to dive in. So I have my mermaid shimmer candle here. I just want to like set the mood a little bit. And this is kind of a warm-up video for me as I'm filming a couple of other videos, and I've been out of practice for the past couple of weeks. So bear with me as we get settled in together. I have my cold coffee, unintentionally cold. I also wanted to do this video as we are wrapping up the water element within our 78 Deep Tarot Challenge. If you don't know what that is, I'll leave the playlist linked for you if you want to join us for some tarot study, whether through the challenge or in the course that is available to you. Enough about that though. Let's get into these two decks. So this, as a little backstory in case you don't know, Rebecca Campbell is an oracle deck creator with Hay House, and she has produced, this is her fourth deck if I'm not mistaken. Her first two decks, which were Work Your Light Oracle and the Starseed Oracle, which I also have. The artwork for those two decks was created by Danielle Noel. Now, the past two decks that Rebecca has done, the Rose Oracle and this Oracle, and I believe she has another one coming now as well, the artwork is done by Katie Lewis. So I just want to be clear that these are two different artists. This creator, artist and author of this particular Oracle deck used to collaborate with Rebecca, but she did not have any part in this particular deck. I know that can be confusing, especially as you'll see the art styles can be very similar. So I just want to talk about that off the bat. This Ocean's Dreams Oracle, again, produced by Danielle Noel. This is a independently produced deck, so you are going to run a little bit more expensive just to get some of those technical things out of the way. And this deck is a little more affordable. It's mass produced by Hay House. So depending on your budget, that may throw what I'm about to say out the window for you. I also want to say that this video is not meant to discredit any of the work of either creators. I am not here to take anybody down or say that what they have created is incorrect or wrong. I'm just going to share my thoughts, what resonates with me, my own personal experience, and how I experience both of the decks as of this point having them. Please do your own research. Please feel free to get these decks if you feel called, make your decision for yourself. But I'm hoping that if you don't have these decks and you're looking to invest, or if you have these decks and you aren't quite sure if other people are feeling the same way that you are or different than you are, etc., that this will help you with all of that. So without further ado, so Healing Waters Oracle by Rebecca Campbell comes in this box. Again, retails for $24.99. My boxes, I don't know why whenever I get them in the mail, they always come smushed. So there's that. Comes in this like triangle 2-piece box that Rebecca's very known for. It says the healing waters are within you. It comes with an attunement card to attune you to the healing waters and the oracle. It comes with a guidebook. Mine has a lovely little coffee stain on the top. And here's what we get in the guidebook. So you get the keywords, the message, and then a water affirmation. You also get a lot of information in the beginning. And we're going to talk about how I feel in a second. This is the deck. I have personally edged mine in this teal Posca pen color. It did not come like this. It comes with white edges. I'm going to show you the images as I'm talking. So the first thing right off the bat about this deck is it's meant to be very much in line with the element of water, right? It's supposed to be a healing waters deck. And if you take time to read the guidebook, right, Rebecca talks about, as she does with most of her decks, how the idea of the deck came about. Now, I've read a lot of her deck descriptions. If I'm remembering correctly, and I might not be, but I think I'm remembering correctly, she felt called to create this deck because when she had her child, there was something that they were working on healing through, and she would go to the different sacred water sites throughout the place that she was in. I'm not going to say it because I know that I won't say the correct one, but that they would go collect water and pray to the waters and receive healing, which is so beautiful, right? And in the description, again, she also speaks about, the different sacred sites of water and how the ancient people used to visit those sites for healing, and how you can still visit some of those sites today, and the different bodies of water, etc., etc. So you can tell that with her concept, right? She really had a big concept for the deck, which as a water deck I would expect. However, I don't feel that depth from this deck. And water is deep, right? You have to understand, if you're familiar with astrology, I have 5 planets in Scorpio and I'm a Scorpio sun. I have a lot of water in my chart. I'm very interested in the depths of things, the deep diving of things, the energetic undercurrent of things. To me, water is very complex. It's a very powerful element. You could consider it kind of the start of all life. There's so many different aspects and such potent mysteries and beautiful stories we can tell about water. And I was expecting, after reading the introduction to the guidebook and having that own understanding of water to myself, to feel that depth and that strength of the water coming through in this deck. And I have to be honest, I just don't. If I look at just some of the imagery, sometimes I can get that feeling like this waterfall card feels very fluid. this Sacred Well card. This one just really feels like sacred creation to me. I love the way that she's holding kind of her womb space there. This one, Let It Rain, this one's one of my favorites. You can feel just that surrender and like laying on the warm pavement during a summer rain and just like letting yourself be cleansed of anything that's been cracking open for you through laying their face up to the sky, just like letting the storm rain wash over you. That's what this card makes me think of. So I'm not saying that there aren't powerful images, powerful things that come alive when I look at some of these cards. When I use the deck in practice, this feels like any other generic ass oracle. And as a deck dedicated to water, it feels very like not aligned. I don't know how else to describe that. It just, something doesn't feel right. Something feels like there was a disconnect between, and again, this is my experience, something feels like there was a disconnect between the concept for the deck and the way that the deck was then brought to life. There's a difference in my experience, especially as a creator, when we look to create something and we develop a concept and then execute the concept from the brain space, and when we receive the idea of a concept and we channel the creation of that, right? There are two different processes. You can use it on the same project and you're going to get two totally different results, right? Because one is more connected in spiritually, the other one just operates from the brain space. I don't know why, but it feels like there were only pieces that were channeled from the spirit of water and the rest was put together using the brain space. And because water is so intuitive, it doesn't read well like that. So let's just look at this spread real quick just to see what we get from the message, right? As if this was a spread for us. What does water have for us as a message at this time? We have beneath the surface. What's really driving you? True motives, breaking free. Cleansing, releasing the old, energetic, tune up, new beginnings. Sirens, user voice expansion and freedom. When I look at the cards, right, we can pull out this idea of this higher vision. As if this crystal is holding some really potent codes, and through our liberation, we are digesting the codes. However, there's something that's lying here beneath the surface. The top looks very rough, but she's kind of opening up in her womb space, in her intuitive center, and is going to work on looking at what's beneath so that she can wash away whatever's clouding and access this magic within the crystal, right? That's the message we get from a brain space, right? But even as I'm saying it, and I don't know if this will come across in the video because I can't have you feel what I'm feeling, right? But as I'm reading this, it's very much in my brain. I'm not feeling the water. I don't feel the water running down my face. I don't feel this womb space opening up. I don't feel the liberation of the siren. I don't feel that truth being spoken. I don't feel it. It's water. You're supposed to feel it. And this could just be me. But I'm sharing with you my experience. So that's the Healing Waters Oracle. Now let's talk about the Ocean Dreams Oracle. This is an indie deck by Danielle Noel. I will leave the link to her website below. I believe she's also now selling her decks on Amazon. We got to make sure we get the, authentic copy, not the bootleg copy, but I'll leave the link below for you. I believe this is around twice the price. Her decks usually go for around $55-ish, $60. So keep that in mind. So if we even just look inside the boxes, right, we have the healing waters are within you in Rebecca's deck. And in Danielle's deck, we have I am transformative, I am expansive, I am infinite, I am deep, I am intuitive, I am creative, I'm a vessel of magic. So right off the bat, you can kind of see the difference even in the setup of the message, right? In the healing waters, we have the very generic, like, the healing waters are in you. Here we have, like, I am these things that are characteristics of water. And as I say them, I can feel them, right? So this is the box. This is the guidebook that it comes with, beautifully formatted. We have your card. We have some keywords. We have a short message, which you could just read as is. We have a longer message. We have a question that you can journal with, so to create more illumination. And then a continued message or more information or musings about that particular card. Let's see. It has been a long time since I read the introduction. I don't believe that there was a big build-up, but there are several spreads. There it talks about working in ritual and just introducing the concept of the deck. So you don't get a big build-up of how the deck came about like you do in Rebecca's deck, but you get a lot of empowering information to work with. This deck guidebook speaks at you. This one speaks to you to help you, like, use the water, which I like. So velvety to the touch cardstock, you can see this kind of hidden face here in the water, kind of suggesting some ancient secrets. It comes edged in this, it's like teal and a little glittery. It's not foiled gilding, it's matte, but it does hit the light. I don't know, it's pretty cloudy today, so you may not be able to see that, but this deck you feel. Now, I don't know if it's because it's based on the ocean and that has a little more meat maybe to the depth and darkness that may show up. This also has that otherworldly, ancient remembering type of feel to it. There are animals, there are temples, there are things that feel very out of this world. But when I read with this deck, I feel it. You feel the water. And even though there aren't any key words, I find that that's almost more helpful because it allows you to interpret the phrase, and she has good phrasing here, I believe, in your own way, in your own interpretation. And again, water deals with intuition. We even have a healing waters card in here. Maybe we'll read that just for some cheeky fun. But I also believe there are more cards in this deck, if I'm not mistaken. It does deal with astral things. It has that kind of what many people would call the starseed flavor, which I particularly enjoy. But I also really enjoy the fact that while it's lighthearted, while it focuses on that healing, right? We have all of these beautiful soft pinks and dreamy landscapes. It also talks about the more difficult aspects, right? You saw the first card I flipped over was Storm. And here we have Abyss. And can't you just see yourself walking into the abyss, like through those two oceanic trenches? They're walled on either side, and you're walking through the dark in this tunnel, and there's so much surrounding you, and then you get to the end and it's just like open and vast, and you're like, it feels like there's nothing, right? That's the abyss. Shifting fears. We have a whole range of emotions, and I feel if you have a deck about water, we need to honor that, right? The happiness and the darkness, the mystical and the grounded. Hopefully you can't hear the neighbors talking there, but here we have healing waters. Let's just pull a message. Oops, excuse me. What does water desire us to know at this time? The only thing that I don't like about these decks is, oh, healing water's upside down. Interesting. The only thing that I don't like about these decks is they're like that velvet touch, and they clump together. It drives me nuts. Anybody else? Okay, so we have healing waters reversed, divine spiral, and unconditional love with the dolphins. So we have the divine spiral, and this shell here makes me think of the Fibonacci sequence, right? That special formula that's found in nature that all life seems to be built out of. It's really like a structure, almost like DNA, where everything just kind of spirals out in harmony with those mystical forces at play. And we don't always know why, but it always just kind of works out, right? We have the healing waters in reverse. And it's funny when you look at it upside down, right? Because it almost looks like she's suspended in the middle. Like you have this break right here. This is a different world. This is a different world. And she's like suspended and just kind of like floating there in the wrong direction. And then we have unconditional love with the dolphins. And I love this sun. It's reflecting off the water. It feels like very as above, so below, and harmonious. You also have the dolphins, and they're just so wise and special, and you can feel their communication without needing to have words. So as I feel into this message, right, it feels like there's this very divine, cosmic unweaving or weaving of something that we're really ready for, but we're kind of suspended in this period of waiting because there's something that we're not really digging into that needs to be showered with this love, right? The next piece of the sequence is one that's going to ask for healing. And there's something that we may be ignoring, something that we may be separating ourselves from, that we're in blissful ignorance of, right? But even though healing things, right, can sometimes be scary, when we surrender to this, we can come into this presence of unconditional love. And even if we can't put words to what it is that we're feeling, just feeling into that frequency of unconditional love and sending it to that part of yourself brings it back into wholeness and harmony with everything. So if that reading resonated, I didn't mean to go into a full-blown reading, but if that reading resonated, please take it for yourself. But I hope this itself illustrates, just the difference in how I experience the reading experience of both of these decks. To me, the Ocean Dreams Oracle was a channeled piece of work. And I don't know if that's accurate. Again, this is just my feelings, but it feels really like Danielle, when she when she constructed the art for the deck, when she wrote everything in the guidebook, that she really sat with and let the energy of water come through. So let's move on to a couple of recommendations / honorable mentions. As you can probably assume at this point, if I haven't already said it, I much prefer the Ocean Dreams Oracle, and I think that this one is one that I will be passing along. So if you are in the market for a water-themed deck, and you are in a position where this one feels aligned, and you're, want to save up the funds and invest in that, I highly recommend this deck. However, if you're in a position where saving up for that's a little out of reach for you at the moment, but you still want to play with the water energy, I have another recommendation for you. This deck is an oldie but a goodie. This is the Oracle of the Mermaids by Lucy Cavendish. And Lucy Cavendish, I enjoy her decks. I do. So who is the artwork by? This is published in 2013. The artist is this lovely person right here. She did the Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle and the Oracle of the Dragon Fae as well. I'm sure she has other works at this point because this was published quite a while ago. But this I've had for a long time. I have the glossy copy. I have trimmed my deck. I believe they produce this in matte now. But this deck, while it's mermaid focused, right, it's still water. And it deals with more of those emotions, and it deals with both sides, which I really appreciate. I find that the artwork is very evocative. It is watery. It is dreamy. You still have some of those kind of otherworldly references. You still have the creatures, you have the dolphins. This sanctuary card I love so much. You have the jellyfish. It just feels like, look at this turbulence, yearning. It deals with the emotional realm. It deals with the mystical realm. It deals with intuition, empowerment, ancient wisdom. You definitely feel things when you work with this artwork. You have a wide variety of keywords usually to work with. There's a honoring the masculine card inside the feminine, like watery deck, which I really appreciate. And I really enjoy this deck for working with water. And if you're like, again, like I said, in the market for the type of deck where you really want to explore those water ideas, the realm of emotions, and all aspects of that, and the mystical and the magical, I would recommend this as a mass market option instead of the Oceans. This is one of my favorite cards too. Instead of the Oceans Oracle. And even if, you know, maybe oceans aren't your thing and you'd rather just kind of work with water in this way, this is another, I mean, words. Moral of the story, recommend this deck for working with water. I was looking for a price for you, but I don't see it. I'm sure it's between $20 and $30. Last honorable mention, this deck is by Rebecca Campbell. This is not a water deck. However, if you really want a Rebecca deck that deals with the same type of energy, that emotional realm, kind of that softness, this doesn't so much deal with any of the more difficult topics. Because again, it's not a water deck, but to me it has a watery feel, because this deck, it's called the Rose Oracle, but it's more a deck for the divine feminine, for the mother line, for people who really deal with that Mary Magdalene energy. This deck does have that feeling of depth. I get the experience. This looks like a card from the other deck. I have to set that aside and look for that. What was I saying? This really gives you that nurturing aspect. You still see like there's droplets of water. There's kind of hints of that watery and other ethereal aspect, but this feels like a creation that was made in partnership with the energy that they were trying to capture, again, in my experience. And I think that you get, like I said, a lot of the same elements. Healing the mother line, right? You get the healing waters in the background, the water coming down. You even get water. I love that there's a Brothers of the Rose card. You do get a little bit of those maybe more difficult things to deal with, right? But it's more this loving lens. So again, like I said, if you were looking for that same type of energy, but maybe water isn't your thing and you do enjoy Rebecca's decks, or they're, you know, very accessible, etc., etc. Holy Grail, I mean, that's water, right? Then this deck I can and will recommend, and it's actually just one of my favorites. So that is the Rose Oracle deck. That is all I have for you today, my loves. I hope that you found this helpful. I am going to, for my own curiosity, look for this. I swear this card was in here. All right, I was wrong. I thought that I saw a card just like that in here, but I didn't see it upon going back through it. This one might have been what I was thinking of, so that's neither here nor there, but I did want to provide you that that quick bit of information and not leave you on a cliffhanger in case you were curious. But yes, my loves, that is it for the unfair comparison video between the Healing Waters Oracle and the Ocean Dreams Oracle. I hope that you found this helpful, whether you were looking at these decks or not, whether you have these decks or not. I hope it was even, you know, helpful in having you view the way that decks feel for you in a different way. You know, I've been on this journey the past month, now going on 2 months, of really curating and taking you through the curation of my deck library. And this is one of those things that is really helping me in the discernment of which decks really speak to me and which ones don't. And I think that this Healing Waters deck is very valuable and will definitely have a impact in some people's paths and some people's libraries. But for me, since I have this deck and this deck, which I really love, I don't need to keep this one. I just don't, because it just doesn't hit that spot for me, you know? So thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I feel like I could just sit in this water energy and ramble on for like ever, but I'm gonna go ramble on in some other videos about other topics. But I hope that you enjoyed, my loves. Again, thank you so much to the beautiful viewer who sent me this deck. And I will see you guys again soon. Take care, my loves. Bye.